Hi everyone, this is Deb Tim, a Canadian girl, and today we are going to look at green spot algae. This is episode 3 in a short series on algae I've been doing, so please stay tuned. Green spot algae and green coat algae are not always easy to tell apart. Here's an example of green coat algae. If you look in the end of your aquarium, you will see your water looks crystal clear behind the lovely green glass. This is before my water change. This aquarium is in my little fish room and is always like this by the end of the week. Now it does have a very bright LED light, and the tank is right beside the door, giving it way too much light. I know it's unsightly, but it doesn't harm the fish in any way. Green coat algae will attach itself to the same things that green spot algae do, but it is in coating form. Green coat algae gradually sneaks up, coating your aquarium glass lightly. And then as the days pass, it becomes darker and darker until your tank looks green just like this. Another big difference in these two species of algae is the coat algae can be wiped off quite easily, where the green spot algae is much harder to remove and requires a little more effort. Green spot algae is just that, green spots, light green in color, circular, and thin. This type of algae adheres tightly to glass or any hard surfaces in your aquarium. Finding its way to decor and rocks is common, but it's not normally on plants, although that's not to say it can't grow on plants. Once it's growing well, it will start to connect the dots, making it look more like green coat algae. The difference is only noticeable in the early stages while the spots are still discernible. As most algae, green spot algae enjoys excessive light and an abundance of nutrients. If you find your green spot algae growing on your plants, it's an indication that you have low phosphates. In preventing this algae, you must stick to your routine of weekly water changes, regular cleaning such as vacuuming, wiping down the interior glass, and cleaning off any beginnings of algae you may detect. I find in my tanks, algae usually begins to show itself right at the substrate level. This makes sense as there are more nutrients closer to where the waste and leftover food are located. This algae also likes to sneak into scratches in the glass. Prompt attention is the key to keeping algae from taking over. On a glass aquarium, using a razor blade is fine, but if you have an acrylic tank, then using a gentle scouring pad should do the job. You may have to rub a little harder. You can also brush down your decor items, rocks, and other things that may have algae on them using a fingernail brush. Algae will regrow quickly if there are microorganisms left behind. If the algae comes back quickly, then you may want to brush off the rocks or decor and then soak them in a bucket of bleach water. Once nice and clean, rinse them until there's no odor, and then they're ready to go back into the tank. I do this with my fake plants as well, at least once a month to keep them clean. Again, soaking them in clear water, making sure the bleach has been rinsed away. Most often, the cause of algae in a planted tank is due to deficiencies in your plants rather than excess nutrients in your water. The estimative index, or EI method, is helpful in retarding the growth of algae. It's a simple method of adding a slightly higher dose of nutrients for your plants during the week. This floods the water column with nutrients that the plants need to grow, gradually starving out the algae. Follow that on the weekend with a good water change of 50%. The plants will grow and flourish, absorbing all the nutrients, leaving nothing for the algae to consume, causing the algae to die out in time. EI fertilizers already contain potassium phosphate, which is what will help get rid of the green spot algae. Green spot algae forms when your phosphates are either too high or too low. By testing your phosphates, you can determine what course of action is needed. If the phosphates are too low, you can easily remedy this by adding nutrients using the appropriate fertilizer. On the other hand, if your phosphates are too high, you will need to do a good-sized water change to bring them down. Or you can add a phosphate-binding filter media to your filter to absorb them. At this time, you will not want to add more phosphates, so check the fertilizer you are using for its phosphate level. You may need to reduce the dosage. Weekly water changes are highly recommended. Before draining the water, scrape off any visible spots on the glass and decor items so that during your water change the microorganisms will be removed with the water. Do your water change and check your phosphate levels. Now you are set up to monitor your algae growth. Hopefully the algae has been stopped or at least under control. Adding a few nerite snails should do the trick. They are the best defense against any spot algae. The information I'm sharing is only touching the surface of this wide world of algae. I really had no idea there were so many types of algae out there. There are at least as many and as diverse as the aquariums they choose to live in. So until next time, this is Deb Tim signing out. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.